Hello, everyone. Douglas Waltz, Old Man Comic Book Reviews. You've shown up for a big occasion, the 200th episode of the show. We're here at the local comic book shop, Fanfare Comics. And I did save comics for a couple of weeks, so we'd have a nice stack. Otherwise, we would have had 3 for episode 200. So, first off, we'll go for Awful. This is the new Awful cover to the new Daredevil comic book. John Romita Jr. in that terrible, terrible armor. We're starting a new storyline. Our writer is still Salon Ahmed. Jose Luis Soares is our penciler. Oren Jr. is our inker. It's called Rights of Reconciliation. Matt has got an old girlfriend back, Nyla, who, back when he lost his memory, I guess. There's a large arc of time where I did not read Daredevil. That's just how that works, especially if there was anything in this costume. Although this is great artwork. Look at how nice that is. So good. So I'm still gonna buy it, but you know. Book I'd been waiting months for. I Lie Popeye #4. And let's get our usual suspects here. Story and Nerds by Marcus Williams. That was easy. Story and Nerds by Marcus Williams. He does a great job. Wimpy shows up, and apparently Wimpy's pretty tough when he's asleep and gets possessed by a demon from another reality. So this whole book is just so good and just odd, and it has that. The artwork makes it gorgeous. The storyline is interesting, doing something with how people are like avatars. They're not actually these people. So this is a great weird Popeye book. If you haven't, you probably have to wait for the trade. I've been told that it's hard to get the single issues unless you get those from your local comic book store and request that they be pulled. All right, Mothra, Queen of the Monsters. Look, it's Baby Mothra. Issue 2. And let's get our usual suspects, and then I'll show you something cool. Story by Sophie Campbell, art by Matt Frank, and Sophie Campbell apparently did page 6, so we have to look at page 6, but not yet. We left them going back into prehistoric times to get a Mothra egg. Look how nice this artwork is. Isn't that nice? Yeah, so let's find out what page 6 looks like and compare it and contrast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, no, I can't tell the difference. This is page 6. Page 6 looks exactly like this page. It's a little less detailed. It's more rough, but so yeah, this is a great book. There's just so much action going on. It's constantly moving forward, and the 2 girls are learning to be the new twins that sing for Mothra. So if you haven't gotten this, it's only on issue 2. Should be able to get it. Here we go. My daughter's favorite new book, DC crossing over with Sonic the Hedgehog. Issue number 2 of 5, unfortunately. That's so sad. But Ian Flynn is our writer. Adam Bryce Thomas is our artist. When last we left, Darkseid got himself one of the crystals. And they have to stop him from getting all the crystals. He has a plan, apparently. It's enough of a problem that Dr. Eggman is willing to help. We also watched Sonic and Superman outrun Darkseid's death beams. I don't know what they're called. Omega effect, maybe? It's been a while since I've read anything with Darkseid in it. But everybody has their own little gimmick where they like hang out with somebody. Shadows with Batman, Sonic's with the Flash, things like that. But yeah, and then a big twist at the end of issue 2, so you'll have to read it to find out. Great book. So the first Godzilla versus that they were doing at Marvel this summer was Godzilla versus the Fantastic Four. This is Godzilla versus the Hulk. I had high hopes for this because it's Godzilla versus the Hulk. Jerry Dugan is our writer. Giuseppe Camuncoli is our penciler. Danielle Ordonalini is our inker. And this takes place in the late 70s. Dr. Demonicus is on board. Bruce Banner's on board and has not been the Hulk for a very long time. They believe that the Hulk is dead. And this is just a great big fight. It's Godzilla shows up. then Mechagodzilla, then there's another Mechagodzilla, and then if you thought it could get any better, they create, Dr. Demonic made Hedorah. So it's Hedorah versus Godzilla and the Hulk, and the thing you never thought you'd ever get to see is, let's see, a hulked out Godzilla. That's what makes this the best one so far. Next issue is supposed to be Spider-Man versus Godzilla, and I see that where he just gets eaten. Alright, next up is Absolute Flash number 2. Absolute Flash number 2 is going to hide the... When last we left Wally, he'd done some high-speed thing and ran into the future where everybody is dead. I'm still looking for my who the usual suspects are. If you can't put it in the front, you should put it in the back, right? Isn't that how that works? I'm still not finding it. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Well, that would be a weird place for it. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, here it is. Jeff Lemire. Look, usually it goes, okay, like on here or in the front on there. They gave it its own page. Jeff Lemire is our writer. Nick Robles is our art. And he also did the cover, which is great. I like the kinetic energy of this book. You got bad guys chasing after Wally. Wally has no idea what's going on. Barry's there, but he might not be there. You get panels like this, where it's just so much activity going on. There's a weird Captain Boomerang in here. I want to find another one of those kinetic energy ones. But things like this, where the middle panel is him moving so fast that you almost feel the whoosh come out of the book. This is such great artwork that this guy's doing. And I like the way that the speed thing works. I've seen some inklings of costumes that just look awful. But the story is interesting enough that I'll read it. Alright, Kaiju Cooking number 2. This is my wife Martha's favorite book currently. Story and art is by Hiroshi Kanatani. Translation is Doug Dlin, D-L-I-N, Dlin. Oh, look. We don't very often get a black and white book. But this young lady is Ultra Vogue, which is like, yeah, it's Ultraman, is fighting a kaiju outside of her restaurant. So when it's dead, they cut it up and eat it. That's what the kaiju cooking part is. This one has salmon roe eggs and how to clean them. Then there's the food. And if you want, you can't do it with the kaiju, of course, but there's a little recipe page. So you can make the recipe that you see in the book, which is, I think, just wonderful. I really kind of doubt, though, that Martha would eat it. So, I don't know. I'd have to ask her. So, a fun book. It comes out infrequently at best. If you miss it, you miss it. Well, let's save that one for last. Okay, we're up to issue 4 of Aquaman. Aquaman is still on the hunt for his home because it has been taken away from him. Writer is Jeremy Adams. Artist is John Timms. I do give John Timms credit. That's the best Mira I have ever seen. You got to remember, this Mira in the comic books is way before the trash fire lady in the movies. Okay, guys? We like Mira. Mira's great. As long as she's not in a movie. We get a new weapon introduced into it called Thalassa the Trilance Saber. There it is. And it's Aquaman. So you say to yourself, I said, what could he possibly do with that? Well, how about if he cut an entire ship in half with one shot? So this is a great book. I'm having a lot of fun with this, changing things up. It's a good time. If you haven't been on board, you should probably get on board. All right, here's our number 1. You want to see the gatefold? Look at that. Look at that. They've rebooted Spider-Man for the 75th time. This would be 965 Legacy Building. And the cool part is if you flip it over this way, you get another giant spread. So, yeah. So, anyways, let's find the usual suspects. Maybe. Oh, really? All right, let me look in the back real quick first. Nope, ain't there. Don't know why they can't just put these in the front for those of us that do comic book review shows. Yeah, here we go, here we go. While I'm looking for it, you need to see this panel as well. Look at that, isn't that pretty? All right. So, wow. You do get to watch Spider-Man resuscitate the Rhino, which is interesting. I always love a good story with the Rhino. This is actually a pretty good story. So, they put it after the story. Okay. Writer is Joe Kelly. Artist is Pepe Larraz. There's a second story where the artist is John Romita Jr., so boo. And the writer is Joe Kelly again. So let's do the backup story first, where it's about Harry Osborn trying again to tell everyone that he's changed and he's a better person and blah, blah, blah. No one freaking believes him. Pepe Larraz, I don't know if he's new. I'm not that familiar with his work, but I'm going to show it to you again. This is great artwork, and the artwork looks great throughout. Peter looks good. Everybody has a normal face, not a John Romita Jr. face. He's going to get a new job. There's Aunt May. We get all the boxes are ticked for our setup. But the interesting thing is the Rhino is not what he appears to be, because he's being controlled by someone. So we'll find out, and I'm probably sure that this has a lot to do with it. So it's a nice reboot of the Spider-Man. Spider-Man. No, that would be a great comic book. They should do that. If you've never seen Spider-Man, I think it's free on the internet. So there's our stack for 2 weeks for our 200th episode. Let's do the divvying up. I don't think it'll be a lot. Let's see. We might only have one that's not superhero. No, we're not going to give her. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, 2 Mothra and Kaiju cooking. Kaijus aren't superhero, kids. Remember that. They might look cute and fuzzy, and you want to bring one home to your parents, and they're going to tell you no. So, here's your stack. Since it's the 200th episode, let's do the talk. We always have the talk. The talk is simple. Go read a comic book. I know I say that last. But you can read one anywhere. Like I said, I was here at Fanfare, and they have dollar bins, 50-cent bins. Yesterday they gave away free Superman comic books. They have a very big presence on social media, so you'd find out all of these things if you live in Kalamazoo. See if your comic book store does the same thing. Also, there's the option for free comic books. You can do free comic books by reading them at the library. They're going to want them back, but you can read them for free. Find something that you like. It doesn't always have to be superheroes. Yes, there were a lot of superheroes in this issue, but there's also a lot of kaiju in this issue, because I like kaiju, and so what? There you go. And sometimes comic book stores have a deal. Like, for example, these books are anywhere between $3.99 to $5.99. I think the Spider-Man book is $5.99 a piece. But because I give Fanfare $5 every year, they take 20% off of every single one of these comic books, so they're much more affordable that way. If you're looking and saving your money for a big book that's like a $125 hardcover, if you bought it here and you're part of the thing and you get it the week it comes out, they're going to take $25 off of that comic book. That's a huge deal. So that's it. I'm so glad all of you tuned in for my 200th episode. For those of you who've watched it for a long time, I appreciate you for being one of the few people that, started watching it. It built up a little bit. I'm getting like 100 hits. Tell your friends to see if they want to watch this old man babble on about comic books that he bought and has very strict, rigid ideas of what his comic book should be. Otherwise, he starts calling people terrible, things like that. It's just John Romita Jr. It's not. I have a list. Oh, here we go. Do you want to go over the list real quick? We'll do the list because it's the 200th episode. So John Romita Jr., art-wise, I can't stand this guy. I understand that he's a legend or whatever. His father was a legend, so he gets to be a legend, I guess. I don't know. But writers, oh my lord, the writers. So Nick Spencer was the one who came up with the genius idea of making Captain America Hydra. So he's on the list. Tom King is on the list because I've never in my life read a more boring comic book than if it's written by Tom King. I learned my lesson quite some time ago. I don't buy them. One of my favorite comic books to read is Wonder Woman. So he's been on Wonder Woman lately. So I ain't getting my Wonder Woman fix every month because Tom King is writing it. Get it? That's him. When I first decided to come back to comic books back in 2012, I decided, well, first I got to get a Captain America comic book. And it was the Rick Remender run. The awful, awful Rick Remender run with, I don't even want to talk about it. We don't even talk about how awful that was. So, but if you want to read good comic books, Joe Kelly writes a good comic book. Jerry Dugan writes a good comic book. All the old guys, Mark Waid, stuff like that, do a great job. I can't remember the other guys that I like. There's a ton of guys that bring a lot to it, and a lot of artists that work really hard to make sure we get comic books every month at your local comic book store. So that's all I have. Thank you again for being here for my 200th episode, and go read a comic book.